good afternoon, good night, beautiful people. Today we will be talking about how I healed and some tips on how to heal.
Probably don't even know my middle name.
That's a trick question. You don't have one.
Hell.
Don't let go. If you look into the distance, there's a house upon the hill, guiding like a lighthouse. It's a place where you'll be safe to feel.
Okay, let's start. So, I went through a very traumatic childhood, and I gained a lot of friends and lost a lot of friends, and that really hurt, because when I want to be friends with someone, when I like them, they become so near and dear to my heart, and I make such a big connection to them, and I will give up things. I will be a different person around them. I will not be myself. I don't even know who myself is. I'm pretty sure about that. But I will become a new person. I'll give up things I loved. I'll give up things that made me happy, just so I could be friends with them and I could make them happy. And I also sacrificed a lot of things. Definitely sacrificed myself a couple times being friends with some of these people. And I call it my curse, where I lose a lot of friends every year. Since preschool, I had a trio, and I lost all my friends in a traumatic way. And I cried about it a lot, even though I barely understand feelings, but I knew I was sad. Kindergarten, I made friends, lost them traumatically. Grade 1, made friends, lost them. Grade 2, made friends, lost them traumatically. All sad ways I lost all these friends. Grade 4, and all those other years before, I still had friends left. But in grade 4, I had a good friend group going. And I didn't do anything. Sorry, I really didn't do anything. But they started being really mean because they heard rumors about me. So they started being really mean. They started calling me things that you shouldn't call me, things that I'm not. They started believing those lies. The people I trusted, they started believing those lies. So I stopped believing in myself, and I let those people take over me, walk over me like I was a doormat. In grade 4, I lost all my friends because they all became really popular. And that really hurt. I lost all of them. And then Leah came along, but we're talking about how I healed. And in that moment, a mistake I made was looking for validation. Looking for someone to help me and validate my feelings. But I don't need that. And let me tell you why. In grade 5, I was new to the school, and I made a friend who went to the old school, and yeah, blah blah blah, yeah. We didn't become friends. Well, we were somewhat friends, but she was kind of grumpy at me because I became friends with someone that she didn't like. She had her reasons. But I believe those reasons now. That person's name that I became friends with was Declan. Okay. I'm exposing myself a little. Okay, anyways. Declan wasn't the best person. She was forcing a personality on me. She was making me become someone I wasn't, and I didn't want to be that person. but I didn't have a choice because I wanted a validation of my feelings. I wanted to tell her everything. And trust me, all this trauma builds up. That's why I'm telling you this whole background story. And then I made a friend group with River, Moi, Lisa. Oakland was also one of my best friends at the time. She became a backstabber with Declan. They went behind my back, posted videos about me. Made me sad. And then, when they didn't want to be friends with me because I stood up for myself against Declan, and when Oakland didn't want to be friends with me, I said okay. I knew she didn't want to be friends with me because she was distancing herself. But when that was over, it was a little bit before the end of the school year. It was a week before. I just got my new phone. I was happy. Well, I didn't just get my new phone. Actually, that's a whole different story. I did not just get my new phone. But I was not happy. I was crying every night. Then I started having the thoughts about myself, and I didn't know I had depression at the time, but I knew my anxiety and my overthinking was overloading, and I wanted those thoughts to stop. So I kept going. I had a fun summer, but things got worse the next year. I made some friends. I was still friends with River. She barely remembered me because she had a bad memory. Anyways, in November, we did a bunch of testing. We found out I have severe depression, severe anxiety, overthinking. Yeah. They decided to put me on pills, but I didn't want to go on them because I couldn't swallow pills. So I did it. And then I made more friends. Isabella, KG. I made a lot of friends that year. I made a whole friend group. And they kind of started to mean the world to me. And then the two main people, Isabella and Leela, they didn't become friends anymore because they had a big fight. A couple weeks after that, Leela made me feel more happy, so I decided I didn't want to be friends with Isabella. Isabella did a bunch of shitty stuff to me. I didn't want to be in that friendship anymore. And they posted videos about me, and I wasn't friends with River anymore. And I also had really bad trust issues after Declan and Oakland. And River was the first person I trusted after that. So I cried my eyes out after this Helen River thing. And not that long after, I felt pressured into a relationship I didn't want to be into with a girl. And I posted this one video because me and my best friend Leah, we were just posting videos about each other for fun because we wanted to. And this girl was asking questions. And I didn't know how to answer that. And she was like, I feel like you want to break up. I said, if that's what you want, then we will. So we broke up. She told her whole group chat. They made videos about me name dropping me. And because I'm not a mean person, I didn't save those videos and send it to the principal like they did. I made a video about them, name dropping them, and they saved that video and they sent it to the principal. I'm not friends with that big friend group anymore. And I have a big friend group. I have not a big friend group. I have a good group of people now. And I've became myself. I became this wanted version of myself I didn't want to be. But how did things change? How did I heal? Something I learned is that I had to make new friends quickly because I didn't like being alone, because after having a big friend group, I was never really alone. And I realized that's not too good for you. So I decided I made new friends. But after that friendship breakup, I spent every weekend with my family, every weekend alone. I had one weekend where I literally just sat in bed all weekend watching stuff because I needed that weekend. That was the weekend after that I needed that weekend. You need a weekend where you can just sit in bed. First step to healing. Take out your notepad, get your water, drink your water, stay healthy. But the first part to this, to healing, is having just a weekend. It doesn't have to be a short weekend, it doesn't have to be a long weekend. It can just be a weekend, a day or two, where you're just sitting in bed. Of course, going to the washroom and stuff, like the necessities, but like you're just watching something on your phone because you need that time to think. And maybe once you have some time, I want you to shut off your technology, go completely silent. Lay in your bed, stare up at your ceiling. You don't want to let your thoughts win. But in this moment, you need to think. You need to let some of those thoughts take over. Once those thoughts start to take over, let them. Keep going. Keep doing that. And then, when you feel it starts to get too far, when they start bringing up past memories, let them. If you push your mind back, telling them not to show you that memories, it's gonna keep showing. Because that's what your brain wants to do. Your brain wants to make you feel sad. It wants to make you feel that grief. And of course you need to feel grief. You lost someone so close to your heart. And that hurt. You lost maybe multiple people close to your heart. And that hurt. But you need to let those thoughts win. But you know in your heart, you're not letting them win. You just let them take control for a bit. While you are taking a break. Those thoughts, they can go anywhere. When you feel you want to stop, when you start to get tired, stop. I'm not trying to force you to do this, but you need to think. So, after that, I'm not going to say you need to work on yourself, you need to change your whole personality. No, you don't need to do that. If these are people who made you a different person, like they did, they made me do a bunch of swearing, they made me change, they talked about me like I wasn't there, they were just bad people. I'm not getting into that today. But these people that did this to you, they don't know what you're going through. But let's think about this. After that, you're going to want to try to find yourself. That weekend of watching TV, having that moment of the day where you think, and those memories recoil with them, you need to let that happen. Then, after that weekend, the next time you have time, I want you to grab something you can write with. And I need you to think super hard. What were things I loved doing before I was friends with these people? before they made me change my personality. For me, it was art, reading books, writing. It was a lot of things. And these people made me change myself. I wrote those things down and I said, I'm gonna do these things again. And something that helped me was doing some walks in nature. If you don't have nature around you, it doesn't really matter. Walk around in your house. Write something, draw. Do those things that those people made you stop doing because they wanted you to change to be friends with them. Do those things. The most important thing when you're healing is being alone. Because immediately, once you're not friends with these people, you're gonna look for validation. You're gonna want to get new friends quickly. Be like, hey, was this thing that happened to me messed up? You're gonna want to remake friends. You're gonna want to hang out with people all the time. Because like with me, if you had a big friend group, you weren't alone all the time. So you need to take this time to be alone. Find yourself. Do meditation, do yoga, work out, read a book. Do what you want to do. But do it alone. Sit in your bedroom, watch TV. Do a hobby that you haven't done in a while. Talk with your parents. Find a show to watch with your mom. Of course you can still make friends, but you need that time alone. You can't be spending every weekend with people, every second of your time with people. Have that time where you're just sitting in your room doing nothing. Have alone time, because alone time, I tell you, it is so important. You need that in your life. Anyways, those are some tips on how to heal. You need alone time. You need to find yourself. And it's hard to find yourself when you don't know yourself. Think hard. Think of what you want to be. Think of the person who you can become. Think of the person you are now. Think of what changes you want to make. Think, think, think. Maybe you don't like thinking, but you need to think. And that's the end. Bye guys, love you. Mwah.